Hello Cosmos Hub, today we got Philip with us from Hydro and we'll speak a lot about it because it was 6 months from the launch, and don't forget that you can always take your tokens with the Quasar Validator. Hello Philip, tell us a bit who are you and how you entered the crypto world.
Hey, nice to be here. I entered crypto in about 2021. So I came to it through academia. So my background is in formal verification, so like making sure that software systems work correctly. And there, crypto is like a really interesting field because there's obviously a lot at stake when you work with funds directly, and it's with smart contracts, with the code being visible, it's like a really good field to sort of verify the code. And then that brought me into it, just looking how this is done in crypto. And I got sort of sucked into Cosmos from there. So I started working on the Cosmos hub, and then now on Hydro.
Great, let's talk about the Hydro. It was 6 months from the launch, and are you satisfied with the results?
Yeah, I think we see a lot of interest in Hydro. I think people are hungry for an atom aligned product like Hydro that actually generates real revenue for the atom stakers. So from that perspective, I'm very satisfied with the general direction. I think we definitely want to go higher and go further. So with the amount of yield that we've let's say repaid to the hub so far, I think we still have a way to go. But I feel we have done the most important first step, which is validate that this is a product that people like, and now we want to go all in and get the product into a state where it's repaying the hub for the funding that we got, and it's actually generating like real significant revenue for the hub. Yeah,
I totally agree with you because it was like every round people trying to get in and most of them just cannot do it. So I think Hydro is a very demanded thing, and it's great to see something like that on the Cosmos Hub. There are a lot of huge updates for Hydro. So tell me please about Riptide and high-risk strategies, how it will work. And I also see that people will be able to lose their tokens if they bid for the not winning project. So, and there also Hydro Treasury, which should cover something, how it will work and how it will look like.
yeah. So Riptide is a feature for Hydro that will allow essentially bidding for higher risk, so voting for higher risk bids. And if those bids underperform, then you would lose part of your tokens. But on the other hand, if those bids overperform, then you would get part of the actual yield of that for yourself. So it's why we call it Riptide. It's like something that's a little bit dangerous. It can like pull you under the water, but it can also be it can make you very fast and push you into the direction you want to go. So it can also make you money. And the reasoning behind the feature is that we want to align the incentives more clearly. Right now, people vote for what gives them like high tributes, and with Riptide, we will make it into a system where people are incentivized to look for which bids are going to have great performance and which bids are going to like outperform, let's say, like a reasonable average yield you could get. So that will really get people to like identify the best opportunities. They will be rewarded for it. But if they misidentify it and they actually lose money for Hydro, then they would be punished for this. This will be an opt-in feature. So there will be like low risk bids where you can just vote, and you will not get a part of the yield, but you will also not be subjected to this punishment. So we're really trying to make it in this way where there are people that can use the system still like risklessly, but then if people that are very confident in their abilities to like identify what is a good deployment, what's a bad deployment, they can use Riptide to like earn extra and to actually guide Hydro into where should the liquidity go.
Currently, we have around 40 APR, I think. With the Riptide, which APR we can probably see in the future?
I think it's definitely going to be, we're going to need to see the market dynamics much more before we can like make any promises about the APR. But in principle, with Riptide, you can think of it as leverage, right? So you with your atom, you vote on this, and it deploys a large amount of liquidity to something. And if this generates a good yield, it's like you can leverage the good yield actually by a magnitude. So again, I don't think we can make any promises on the actual APR, but I would say it's if you have like a really good yield opportunity that pays you like 15% APR, and you can imagine with Riptide, if you actually deploy 10 times the amount of liquidity that you vote with, so that's the atom that you put in, then the yield is also going to be like much bigger than the base yield would actually be. Yeah, that would be the expectation.
I also know from X account of Hydro that we'll see Bitcoin opportunities for bids. There are also Eureka available, and probably you will see something from the Ethereum, Solana, and all the crypto world. How long we should wait until it will be able, and how it will look like, because it's also something new for Cosmos Hub.
Yeah, Eureka is something that we're really excited about. We want Hydro to be able to, for one, deploy liquidity into the EVM ecosystem, into like Solana ecosystem, so get yield opportunities that are there and also use them for Hydro. But on the other hand, also deploy assets that are minted on these chains. So for example, Ethereum or Solana, like the tokens, to deploy those as well. So we're trying to approach these by something that we call inflow. So essentially it would allow like private capital deposits into Hydro that Hydro will deploy for you and find you high yield. You will get some like guaranteed yield, and then the Riptide voters, they will get sort of a bonus for finding the good yield opportunities. So with inflow, we're thinking like I can't promise a timeline, but over let's say the next quarter or so, we are hoping that we will see some first new tokens that we actually integrate into Hydro. We're also pursuing some other opportunities within Cosmos. We're trying to find other tokens, so other community pools or other tokens that we can deploy with Hydro and pair with Atom to, from one, export liquidity into more profitable positions. So for example, an Atom Osmore or Atom Bitcoin position. And also it would help increase the liquidity for Atom, right? Make it easier for people to actually swap into Atom and have like a smoother experience, just to get Atom deployed everywhere. Yeah.
I'm also very curious about how it will work. It will be directly with the protocols or projects, like for example Solana, or you will use some other protocols which are working in this ecosystem. How it will connect?
Yeah, so we're still exploring this. It depends on how willing the counterparties are to actually use Hydro. So if there's a foundation, for example, that similar to the Cosmos Hub community pool wants to deploy their funds with Hydro, that's something that we're actively exploring. So sort of let's call it decentralized institutions, right, that are very crypto native and that want to use this to deploy their funds. That's the one avenue that we're pursuing. That might also just be a protocol that maybe isn't, let's say, the Ethereum Foundation, but they happen to hold a lot of ETH. They could use it. So this might not be just the central entity of the ecosystem. It might be other participants. It could eventually also be, VCs, like big holders of tokens that want to actually deploy them without needing to go into the nitty gritty of finding where are good opportunities, redeploying between these, like reallocating, right? With Hydro, we want to build a solution where you deploy it in Hydro and you can be assured that it will be redeployed over time into the best opportunities that we can find. Yeah.
I also noticed one thing about the marketplace, and I totally cannot understand how it will work, because as far as I find out, it will be something like you will able to sell your position to another user who are not in Hydro yet. How it will work, because it's something very mysterious.
So under the hood, we're going to treat the lockups that you have in Hydro, we're going to treat these as like NFTs that are issued to you. And when you transfer that NFT to someone else, now the underlying atom that's locked in Hydro, they actually belong to someone else. So that person can vote with it, that person can earn rewards with it. So we're using the CW721, so an already established standard that people use for NFTs to actually enable this transferring. And we think that this will make it so that the people that already logged into Hydro and supported Hydro from the start, they will now have something valuable that they can choose to hold on to or choose to sell. And people that want to get into Hydro, they will be able to buy one of these and actually gain entry without us having to raise the caps further. So this will make it so that hopefully we will have the people that want to make the most out of Hydro, they will be able to be in and use it to the fullest, and people that at some point want to exit Hydro, they can do it through the marketplace very smoothly.
The very hot topic is Hydro cap. Then it will be raised, then it will be unlimited, or it will be limited for the whole time, but with a higher opportunity for people. What is the plan for that?
Yeah. So we have one cap raise that's going to happen pretty soon. We already announced that it's going to be a cap raise for Atom stakers that had 50 Atom or more stake on a certain day. That's the day at which the interchain security version 2 proposal passed on the hub. So with this, we want to reward sort of the Atom stakers that have supported Hydro, and obviously we're very Atom aligned, so we want to support those with this first cap raise. In the future, we want to treat these cap raises as sort of a bit similar to like an NFT mint or an airdrop, where you target a specific community to get them interested in the protocol and to get them curious to try it out. So for example, in the future, we might do cap raises that are targeted at certain communities, like maybe holders of certain NFTs or people who have used certain protocols, in order to get these communities to try out Hydro and to interact with it. Regarding whether it will ever be unlimited, so for the foreseeable future, we want Hydro to have these caps. So the reason is just that if there's too much capacity in Hydro, the APRs obviously would go down. And we want the APRs to be high so that people that are in Hydro are highly incentivized to care about it and to vote properly, right? Because they are deciding where the liquidity goes. So they're deciding over a lot of funds, where to deploy it. And if the APRs are good, we think there's a good chance that they will spend time and effort to actually look into it and make good decisions, right? Whereas if it's too diluted, then you don't want to spend a lot of time to gain sense, right? Over the long run, we once we have private capital deposits into Hydro, I think we will get it to a system where much more naturally, potentially without caps at some point, just by the incentives of how much capital is in Hydro, how much is deployed, the amount of people that want to be like allocators, so they want to decide where the liquidity goes, it would automatically balance out just by market incentives. So you could imagine there would be a certain, if the APR is very good for the people actually deciding where the liquidity goes, more people can enter there. And if there is not enough capital in there, then the actual capital providers would earn more of the share. So by that, we would imagine that we can build a system where these things balance each other out without necessarily needing these hard caps. But for now, we are pretty happy with having these caps, at least in the current version of Hydro that we already have live with the features that are there. We think these are necessary to just make sure that users are engaged and making proper decisions. I think we see this with Cosmos Hub governance, right, where there is it's very diluted. It's very, an individual voter doesn't really have a lot of impact on it, and you don't get people to vote. You get validators that vote on behalf of their users. But that's not the system that we have with Hydro, right? We want something where everyone is engaged and actually participating. And for that, letting it completely dilute is probably not the right move. Yeah.
After you answering this question, I got two new questions. First one, will there be something for validators, like not to just be a validator, but something more in the Hydro system? And the second one, about the caps. Many people worrying that it will kill the interest to Hydro, because most of the people can't join, absolutely. So how to solve this problem? To be demanded and not to lose the interest.
So let me get to the first question first. For validators, so we have something else for Hydro that in the long term we want to bring, which is, we call it RAF, is essentially vote delegation. So even on Hydro, you can imagine that you could have like vote managers that vote on behalf of people that delegate to them, right? So in this way, we would get a system where these people, they still need to be a little bit involved, right? Because they still are essentially ensuring that these are good deployments that they're voting for, but they don't have to manage it day to day. So in this way, we want to still have it a little bit more focused, but these delegations, so the vote delegation, having someone vote on your behalf, could help people who are not quite as deep into something, or maybe in one round they don't feel like making a choice. They could use this to actually let someone they think is a good judge of what's a good deployment, to let them make the decision, right? So this is a role that I could see also validators take on, right? They already have like a name recognition, they already have a brand. So this could be something where people are happy, delegating their vote to the validator. They're already happy staking to on the Cosmos Hub, for example. And then there's another thing where we think we can use a delegation concept, which is in Hydro governance. So you might know that Hydro itself, it has a governance that's separate from the Cosmos Hub governance. It's just for the people that are in Hydro. They can also vote on proposals, and they can also decide what happens with the funds that Hydro generates. And for this, we also want to have governors, so very similar to the concept on interchain security, secured chains, where you have essentially validators that are only there to vote on people's behalfs and to decide what is good for the governance of the chain. And this is something similar to what we want to see on Hydro eventually, where the governors would govern Hydro based on people delegating their voting power to them. And again, I think this is something where validators could definitely take part in Hydro. Yeah, that's definitely a good question. So this is exactly why we've built the marketplace, because we want people to be able to enter into Hydro and to try it out with just buying their spot in Hydro. So just by the fact that the system works best when the capacity in it is limited, it necessarily means that some people might not be able to get in. But with the marketplace, at least we feel that we will use market dynamics to decide who gets in, instead of it just being a first come first serve sort of system. We will have something where the people that most strongly feel a need to be in Hydro and to use it will be the people that are actually in. People that don't feel most strongly about being in Hydro will be willing to sell their spot to those that do. So by this way, we think this is sort of a good compromise to have the system be a bit more permissive to enter it than just having the cap raises and then people racing to get in, while still maintaining the sort of incentive structure.
I'm also very curious about the people who are already on Hydro. And I'm sure for 100% that not all the wallets are voting every time they can do it. So can we probably see the system in the future? The inactive wallets will be gone and will make a spot for people who really would like to join.
Yeah, this is something that I definitely could see, where because Hydro is a system that depends on active participation, I could see something where we would see how exactly it's implemented. So nobody should be scared that they will just be thrown out without notice. But I could see something where there is some form of penalty to not participating. We wouldn't want to make it too strict either, right? There might be reasons why people cannot participate at some point, right? But in principle, this is that's definitely an interesting direction to look into. So for in terms of numbers, there definitely is some portion of people that just have locked up and are not voting every round they're available. It's not a huge number. So the last time I looked was a little bit ago, but I think roughly 90% of people that actually can vote do vote. But eventually, if sort of the dynamic shift and people vote maybe even less, then that's definitely something we would need to look into, because again, the incentives should make it so that people are engaged and actually make like informed decisions every time they can. Yeah.
The second very big thing about people worrying a lot is the projects who are coming to the Hydro to get the liquidity. Don't you think that there might be a day then projects will be not interested in it and the APR will be killed? Absolutely.
As long as there's interest in right now Atom and USDC liquidity, but in the future when Hydro has more tokens, then those tokens liquidity as well, these projects will have interest in Hydro. So very clearly, these everyone can make their own sort of calculation on how much will they earn in fees or in increased interest or in increased visibility by participating in Hydro, and then they can make a decision on how much tribute to offer based on that. So for example, we see Stride has been bidding a lot, and because for them it is very clear how much they will be able to gain for themselves out of this. And I think people, as long as there is an interest in right now, again, Atom and USDC, there will be interest in liquidity from Hydro as well. And from what we can see, liquidity is becoming more important and not less, right? So there are everything gets more aggregated. So you can look at, for example, Skip's Go Skip Build, the transfer widget, right? For this to be chosen as the venue to swap on, you need deep liquidity. And these aggregators, this sort of abstraction of the actual underlying infrastructure, right? So I think in the future, people will not necessarily trade on one specific DEX, right? These DEXs will be aggregated and you will just get the best execution price across many, many chains. And with this, I cannot imagine that people don't want to deepen their pools, be the best price more often, gain more fees. This will become more important. And then Hydro will become more important to get more liquidity.
6 months ago, then with talking with Brian, he mentioned that one day we probably will see other tokens, not only Atom in Hydro. Is that still a plan, or it will be fully Atom aligned project?
We still want to see other tokens come to Hydro. So these would be to deploy liquidity from another project. They might want to have their holders vote for it, right? And so if we imagine, I don't know if I want to say any specific project right now, but we can imagine some project wants to get their big stack of tokens, have them deployed through Hydro, then they would also want their token holders to benefit from it. So to be the people that actually vote where the liquidity goes, right? So for this, we would definitely integrate other tokens. On the technical side, we also already have this capability, and we're sort of eager to try this out with projects. We have a couple of leads that we're following right now that we want to do this model with. The big advantage for Hydro is that it would get us a new token, like a new bucket of liquidity to deploy. And in particular, that allows us to like pair multiple tokens against each other. So we could imagine like if we get some token from a project, we can pair it with Atom, and then this project will benefit. They get liquidity paired with Atom, which is like at least in Cosmos, like the blue chip token, right? And on the other side, Atom gets deployed more. It becomes more accessible, is deployed everywhere. So in this way, we think it's worth the sort of trade-off to have other tokens that vote on where liquidity gets deployed, if it helps Atom ultimately by having more yield opportunities, because paired liquidity is just more valuable than having one-sided liquidity. There's just more things you can do with it.
So that means that probably in the future, we can also be able to work with Bitcoin, Ethereum, or something like that as an opportunity to bid it.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the plans for the future of Hydro, and what is the future for Hydro?
Yeah, I think so we already spoke briefly about the sort of ultimate vision that we have for Hydro. We want Hydro to be essentially a system where people can deploy their private capital into it, and they will get some guaranteed yield on it, which should be quite attractive for something where you don't have to pay attention, you don't have to rebalance it yourself. And then the allocators, the people that actually are very DeFi native, that know where the good yield opportunities are, right? Like the people that live and breathe DeFi, they can get paid to find good yield opportunities and to make these accessible to like big capital holders. So in this way, we think we have like a really interesting flywheel where we give something to these big capital holders that don't necessarily have a lot of crypto knowledge, that might even be coming directly from TradFi, not even aware that it's using crypto underneath to generate the yield. That's on the one side. And on the other side, you have the crypto native users that really know all the protocols in and out, and they know where to get the best deals right now, and they will decide where the money goes. And these big holders will essentially get the benefit from it. The very DeFi active users will get some percentage for their trouble of picking out this good yield opportunity. And by this way, we think that sort of everybody wins, and we can kickstart this with Atom today. But we think that in the future, the vision is much broader than just deploying the Cosmos Hub community pooled funds. It's something that we want to build into, and that we feel we are on a very good trajectory on right now. So over the next couple of months, we already have announced a couple of these features, so Riptide, Inflow. Over the next couple of months, we want to make these a reality slowly. Obviously, when we actually take private capital deployments, we have to be very careful about deploying these properly and about having the proper safeguards in place. But we want to move very quickly on this opportunity and bring this vision to life.
And the last question, what is your predictions for the future of the Cosmos and Atom?
I think obviously Cosmos is it had a rough couple of years. I think with Atom, with the Interchain Labs and Mag and Barry taking over leadership there, I feel the vision is very exciting, connecting all the ecosystems, sort of tapping into the liquidity and the user base that already exists on Solana, Ethereum, and so on. So I'm really excited about the vision. I hope that we will have Cosmos become sort of a hub for these multi-chain apps, right? So Ethereum and Solana, these definitely have, in terms of user base, in terms of liquidity, they still have a leg up, right? Obviously, but in terms of what I think will be the new era of crypto, where Cosmos, you know how people say like, oh, Cosmos always was right in the end. I really do think that in terms of, there will not be one big world computer blockchain. There will be many blockchains that are for different uses, and people might want app chains for some things. Maybe some app chains at Cosmos were like premature; they shouldn't have been app chains. But at the end of the day, having many different chains, it is already the de facto standard. Like you cannot look at crypto and say this is not true. There are just many chains. And I think Cosmos is in a very good position to spawn a wave of apps that are very natively cross-chain, where we have tooling, we fought through the pains of actually doing cross-chain interoperability. And now it's time to like really execute on that vision, to build DeFi apps that use these primitives and that really are like first-class citizens of the multi-chain ecosystem. Yeah.
Great. And I also see the Hydro perfectly in this idea of the multi-chains, because as you mentioned, the ability to work with absolutely different assets from different crypto ecosystems, it's something amazing. So thanks for joining us today. It was very interesting to know something more and something new about the Hydro. I'm really excited that we finally see something like that in the Cosmos Hub, and I hope that as much people as possible will be able to join Hydro in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also really excited for it. Thanks for having me.